All right. We're back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. As usual, I'm your host, Mark Pierce. How you doing today? Today is Saturday, September 19th. What do we got going on today? Well, I picked today's topic several months ago. Looking forward to talking about this topic. But first things first, late last night, the news that RBG had passed. Supreme Court Justice, icon. It's a huge loss for America. If you don't know her story, watch that documentary out about her life. It's pretty amazing what she did, where she came from, and how she helped shape America. In any event, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening in the next few months for sure. So, what are we talking about? Well, coincidentally, we are talking about something to do with the courts in general, or at least with Washington and all about that. We got our Zappa shirt on here for the occasion for today. We're going back to 1985. On this date, a very publicized hearing was held, and that was the Parents Music Resource Center. Who remembers the PMRC, people? We were smack dab in the middle of it. 17-year-olds, right? We were right in the middle of all this news, and if you remember it, let's talk about it. Tell me what you remember. And probably the next generation of people have no idea what this is about. They certainly don't know where those parental advisory stickers came from, do they? But that's where those stickers came from. So what are we talking about today? All right. So 1984, this PMRC, Parents Music Resource Center, was formed by four wives of connected people in Washington. It was Susan Baker, the wife of Treasury Secretary James Baker; Pam Hauer, a wife of a powerful realtor, Raymond Hauer, in Washington; Sally Nevis, the wife of the Washington City Council Chairman, John Nevis; and famously, Tipper Gore, wife of Senator Al Gore. Yep, that very same Al Gore. He was on the committee, at least he was at the hearing on the committee. So how did this all come to be? Well, it depends who you ask, but basically Tipper would say that it came from mothers whose kids were coming home with records, and they had lyrics to them that they had no idea that they had to explain to them. So you say one of them says that their kid came home with Madonna's record, Like a Virgin, and was asking about that at the age of 8 or 9. And Tipper says it's because she bought her 11-year-old daughter the soundtrack to Purple Rain, and that song Darling Nikki is on there, and she was shocked. Of course, Frank Zappa says you bought the soundtrack to an R-rated movie and didn't do any research about what that might be. So Frank Zappa has a lot to say about all of this. So they decided they were going to get together and just start warning parents that music was the devil and that you had to pay attention. So, some of this obviously is well conceived and some is not. So they got together all their Christmas card lists, and they started sending out messages to the moms and saying that, there's music out there that people should be careful of. And then it just kind of snowballed from there into a full-on hearing. They actually, before then, what they decided to do was write a letter to the Recording Industry of America. And they did. They wrote a letter, and they wrote it to something like 15 record companies, and said that they wanted them to put stickers on all their records, like a movie rating system, and that they wanted to basically have them stop producing certain kinds of records, cease production of music with violent and sexually charged lyrics, or develop a rating system. And the rating system was going to be an X for profane, a V for violent, an O for the occult / anti-Christian. That's kind of key right there. and they were going to have D/A for drugs and alcohol references, and that they were going to figure that all out and how they were going to make that happen, right? Basically, I mean, like the point of trying to tell parents about music, we get that part, but the part where how you were going to make rules around it and how to figure out what was what and what the standards were, that's where things got a little dicey, right? So the PMRC provided a list of the filthy 15 songs that they were deemed were the main offenders, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. What were the filthy 15? So the hearing comes around and they present these. They also present some album covers, so that they presented 3 album covers. The album covers were Def Leppard's Pyromania, W.A.S.P's album W.A.S.P, which was the one that got the most attention, even though no one had ever heard of W.A.S.P, and Wendy L. Williams, Wow, her record Wow. Again, someone else that you never really heard. That was the key to a lot of these filthy 15, was that most of these songs were definitely not played on the radio, and they certainly weren't mainstream. There were a few that are, but a lot of them you had never heard of before. And really what ended up happening was a lot of people went looking for these records, and it sold more records for a lot of these bands because it got attention. I mean, heavy metal was not a thing in 1985, really. I mean, it wasn't 84 when this was formed, but it sure became something. So, all right, what are your filthy 15? Number 1, Darling Nikki, Prince. We all know that song. Remember in high school when that song came out? Of course we all knew that line in that song. It's a great song, by the way, but we all knew it. What are you going to say? I mean, there's lots of references to lots of things in music. It just depends on the words that you use. Number 2, Sugar Walls from Sheena Easton. Yeah, Sheena Easton, she put out a whole record that was a little suggestive. It was called Private Heaven. Sugar Walls was written or credited to Alexander Nevermind. And who's that? Well, Prince. But that song spent 16 weeks in the top 100. Anyway. Number 3, Eat Me Alive by Judas Priest. They'd been putting out records for 10 years. They didn't appreciate the lines, the reference to Rod of Steel and Grown in the Pleasure Zone. Tipper Gore went on to say that she thought that meant that was advocating oral sex at gunpoint. Number 4, the band Vanity. I think that also has ties to Prince and the song Strap On Robbie Ray. Again, we have songs you would have never heard of before this list. Number 5, Bastard by Motley Crue. Now, Motley Crue says, you know what? They put that sticker on our record and it just sold that record. And it's not even a song by Motley Crue that anyone really listens to. But someone got stabbed to death in the song. So they thought that was violence, Number 6, Let Me Put My Love Into You by AC/DC. I mean, come on, AC/DC, every single song is about pretty much the same thing and gives you the same references. I don't know how you could pick an AC/DC song if you were going to go there, but they didn't like the Let Me Cut Your Cake with My Knife line, and so the band said the whole thing was an attempt at satanic intolerance, which I'm sure didn't help their cause any. Number 7, We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. What was wrong with that song? Well, it promoted violence, they said. It was really the music video, right? The violent video. That's when why D. Snider was invited to this hearing. But if anyone remembers that song, the video, it actually is based on Wile E. Coyote videos, and the whole thing shows basically a human form of those cartoons, because he keeps getting into situations where stuff happens to him and he gets up and he runs away. It's a guy from Animal House, right? So no one ever actually gets hurt in that video, that part was pretty ludicrous. So number 8, Dress You Up by Madonna. I don't know why Like a Virgin didn't make it, but Dress You Up was the one that made it, and that one says I'm gonna dress you up in my love all over your body. They didn't like that one bit. Number 9, W.A.S.P, Animal, F Like a Beast. Again, that one got a lot of attention, but all of us kids were like, who is this band? We never even heard of them, and where would you even buy this record? And yeah, that cover is offensive I guess, but like, who's listening to, like, we would have never heard it if we didn't know about it. Number 10, High and Dry by Def Leppard. I got my whiskey, got my wine, got my woman, and this time the lights are going out. I don't know, they thought that was, I guess, instead of it just getting dark, they thought that was violent. Number 11, Merciful Fate, Into the Coven. King Diamond, the lead singer of Merciful Fate, a Danish metal band. Yeah, a reference to the occult in there. I mean, but who ever heard of it? Number 12, Trashed by Black Sabbath, a song about drinking alcohol. I didn't know what that was all about. Number 13, this is a great song, In My House by the Mary Jane Girls. Who doesn't like that song? That's a great song. But they didn't like I'll Satisfy Your Every Need and Every Fantasy You Think Up. That was just too much for them. Number 14, a band called Venom. The song is Possessed, with some unpleasant lyrics. I mean, everyone pretty much agree that the song is, I mean, you would never hear the song, and that there's a reason why. And number 15, the most well-known probably out of all of them, the music video was very popular on MTV, She Bop by Cyndi Lauper. Now, most people didn't even know what that song was about. To this day, they probably don't even know what it's about. I mean, we all know what it's about now, obviously, but at first you didn't know what it was about. You watch the video, and you know, if you're not paying attention, you don't realize it. And then when you actually listen to the lyrics and look at the video and realize what she's singing, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But anyway, that was number 15. So the hearings are held. Frank Zappa goes, and you got Dee Snider, and then a surprise, you got John Denver at this hearing. Frank Zappa shows up in a suit and tie, purposely to try to. We couldn't even tell which one was his lawyer and which one was the guy that was the singer. And famously, John Denver, they said they didn't know what he was going to say. He was like American Pie. They thought he was going to testify in favor of all this stuff, and he ended up getting up there saying, you know what, I equate this to Nazi burning of books, and everyone was shocked. I mean, that pretty much turned this hearing on its heels. And he talked about how people didn't like his song Rocky Mountain High being on a soundtrack to a movie, so he pretty much sealed it there. And the other thing is, I don't think that the committee counted on the artists being particularly articulate about the issues, even though there were some very ludicrous exchanges during this whole hearing. And people were mad at Al Gore. They said he didn't defend his wife during this thing, but that's a whole other story. So Frank Zappa, I mean, it was just a very famous scene, seeing Dee Snider at a hearing like that, a Senate hearing. So anyway, what came out of all that? Well, the issue was that not only did it wasn't just stickers. I mean, we could have dealt with just stickers, even though when they did the sticker issue, there were retailers that wouldn't carry CDs and records and tapes that had parental advisory on it. They wanted to put those records. The issue is they wanted to put those records like behind the counter or in a case, and they wanted to keep them separate. They also wanted to go as far as to address recording contracts with bands if they didn't meet certain standards, to create industry standards about what was allowed in music. There was a lot of overreach there, and that was a lot of the issue as far as what they were talking about. That didn't get a lot of attention, but that's what was going on there as far as that's concerned. So what are we doing for Song of the Day? Because I'm already at almost 14 minutes. Well, the song of the day is called Porn Wars, and it's Frank Zappa's song about this whole thing with quotes from the hearing in it. It's a long song. But that's your song of the day, Porn Wars, Frank Zappa. We are also going to present for you the Filthy 15. All 15 songs will be posted below. You be the judge. If you've never heard it, give a listen. Tell me what you think. A lot of it is stuff that you would never hear, you've never heard, or you don't want to listen to. But now we know who they are. And I'll see if I can find those album covers that they put out. Oh, they also played videos. They played some videos at the hearing. They played Hot for Teacher from Van Halen. That was offensive to them. And they played Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It. So anyway, it was interesting what they decided to focus on. So that's your song of the day. That's your topic. You got time. It's a Saturday. 35th anniversary of the Parental Advisory sticker debacle, or whatever you want to call it. Let me know what you think. Have a great day, and once again, RIP RBG. All right. I'll catch you on the flip side.